Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of What the Flop. If you're a DC fan, this week's episode is definitely gonna be a treat, so stay tuned for more. The story focuses on the DC characters Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman trying to defeat a new awakened character that is trying to conquer planet Earth. But the question is, how did the Snyder cut evolve? So when the fans watched the original Justice League, there was a huge backlash from the DC community because they weren't happy with the outcome that Warner Brothers gave. So the whole idea started on Twitter when they started tweeting, "Release the Snyder cut," and after a while, the Snyder cut actually made it. The reason why the original Justice League fell so downhill is because two directors took after each other. Zack Snyder left Justice League due to a family emergency. In other words, his ideas weren't aligned with Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers brought in Joss Whedon, which was an Avengers director, and he had a completely different perspective than what Zack Snyder had. Now let's focus on the tone of each film. In the Snyder cut, we had more time to relate to the characters. There was enough time for character development, character relationships, and every detail showed us a backstory of what the character is going through.
You had enough to deal with. Don't need to add mother-in-law to the list. But I found a little place that suits me just fine, right by the diner. I'm not here for help.
However, in Joss Whedon's version of the original Justice League, he had a comedic approach.
This janitor's wife had some strong words for the aliens she says stole her man.
And Joss Whedon is known in Avengers that he has this type of approach, and Warner Brothers wanted to mimic what Marvel was doing in order to see if their rating would change and that they would relate to what Marvel is giving. However, the pace of both films were completely different. In the Snyder cut, we had a slow-paced film, whereas in the Whedon's cut of Justice League, there was more of a fast pace. The color grade of both films were completely different as well. In the Snyder's cut, we had a dark feel to the color grade, whereas in the Whedon's cut, we had the Avengers type of colorful color grade. And the format of Snyder's cut that he shot in was 4:3, and he believes that this square version is better since when the superhero is standing up, he shows that he is gigantic, rather than getting a top and bottom cinematic crop that will not show the strength of the superhero. Moving on to the choice of music, which gave a huge impact on telling a story from two different perspectives, since each director used something different for this Aquaman scene. However, there were 6 characters that were let out of the original Justice League and only showed in the Snyder cut, such as William Dafoe, Jesse Eisenberg, Kiersey Clemons, Joe Manganiello, and Jared Leto. However, all the main cast from both cuts remained the same. In conclusion, Warner Brothers focused too much on being like Marvel, and they only wanted to cut the running time short and try to mimic Marvel's style by bringing in Joss Whedon. However, the film wasn't even written like that, and even if Zack Snyder wanted the film to be 4 hours, Avengers Endgame was around 3 hours, and in my opinion, I would personally cut around 30 minutes of the film, and I rather have one cut of this film than have one butchered version of the original Justice League because an Avenger director had to make it, or have a masterpiece of a version from Zack Snyder that isn't a complete mess. All in all, if the Warner Brothers Corporation really thought that they could edit their way to make a really good movie, I am completely against everything that they did with the original Justice League. This film was a complete disaster, and I actually had an incredible time watching the Snyder's cut, and I think that this film really should have stayed as the original version of Justice League, only if Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder had to figure something out. But unfortunately, we have two different cuts, and one film that I would highly recommend, such as the Snyder cut, that I would rate 9/10, whereas the original Justice League I would rate a 6/10. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.
Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League is an unbutchered mess.